When I opened my garage that morning, I froze. Parked right between my tool bench and my old Harley was Karen's silver Lexus. Doors locked, engine still warm, like she'd just moved in. No note, no apology, just entitlement on 4 wheels. An hour later, I found a bright yellow envelope taped to my front door, a $500 HOA violation. The reason? Unauthorized vehicle storage. Her vehicle. In my garage. I actually laughed out loud before the anger set in. You ever had one of those moments where you realize someone's not just petty, they're power drunk? That's when I decided, fine. She wanted control? She could have it. Right up until the day she realized I owned her house. And if you've ever dealt with someone who hides behind fake authority, a boss, a neighbor, an HOA queen, then you know exactly how sweet that kind of justice feels. But let me start at the beginning. Before we dive in, let me know where you're listening from today. If you told me 5 years ago that a woman with a clipboard and a pearl necklace would nearly drive me insane, I'd have laughed. But here we are. My name's Jake, single dad, electrician, and proud owner of a garage that smells like coffee, sawdust, and burnt wire. My daughter, Ella, says I spend more time in there than in the house, and she's probably right. It's where I unwind, where things make sense. Electricity, unlike people, doesn't lie. You flip the switch, it either works or it doesn't. When I first moved into Lakewood Estates, I thought I'd found peace. Clean streets, trimmed lawns, folks who waved when you drove by. It looked like the kind of neighborhood that raised good kids. I didn't mind paying HOA dues if it meant the place stayed nice. I just wanted Ella to grow up safe, maybe ride her bike to the park without worrying about broken glass or stray dogs. Then I met Brenda. She introduced herself 2 hours after we unloaded the truck. I was still dragging boxes into the garage when I heard heels clicking up my driveway like gunfire. "You must be Mr. Thomas," she said, chin high, clipboard clutched like a royal decree. "Welcome to Lakewood Estates. I'm Brenda Hollingsworth, president of the HOA. You ever meet someone and instantly know they love control?" That was Brenda. Everything about her was crisp. Her white blouse, her ironed khaki pants, even her hair looked like it was trained to stay in line. She smiled like a dentist about to hand you a bill. "Just a few notes," she said, eyes darting around. "Garage doors should remain closed when not in use. Trash bins must be placed at the curb only after 6 p.m. on Thursdays. Oh, and," she peered into my garage, "no visible tools or workstations, please. It affects community appearance." I blinked. "Ma'am, I'm an electrician. This is my workstation." Her smile didn't move, but her eyes narrowed. "We'll see what we can do about that." That was the first spark. Over the next few weeks, Brenda's presence was everywhere, like a storm you couldn't predict but always felt coming. She'd circle the block in her silver BMW, clipboard in her passenger seat, snapping pictures of lawns that grew a hair too high. She left little warning notes on doors written in cursive so sharp it could cut glass. At first, I brushed it off. I was busy running jobs, wiring new homes, fixing breakers for folks who couldn't afford the big companies. One Saturday, my neighbor Gary asked for help installing a new outlet for his RV. "HOA says I can't hire outsiders," he joked. I told him I'd swing by after lunch. Of course, Brenda appeared mid-drill. "Mr. Thomas," she called out from the sidewalk, her voice pitched like she was announcing a crime. "Are you contracting work in a residential zone without a permit?" Gary, bless him, said, "He's just helping me out, Brenda." "He's licensed," her lips pressed together. "All electrical work must be pre-approved by the board." "It's one outlet," I said, wiping sweat off my neck. "We're not building a power plant." She jotted something down on her clipboard like she was issuing a ticket. Rules are rules. That's when I realized Brenda didn't protect the neighborhood. She controlled it. By fall, the violations started. A faded oil stain on my driveway. A non-compliant mailbox height. Unauthorized exterior modification because I replaced my porch light. Each came with a $100 fine and a smug note signed B. Hollingsworth. I stayed calm. I paid a couple, appealed others. No use losing sleep over someone's ego. But the day I came home and found her BMW parked inside my garage, something in me clicked. It was a Tuesday. I'd been gone since 6 a.m., working on a school renovation project across town. When I pulled into my driveway, the garage door was already open. I thought maybe Ella had left it that way. But then I saw the sleek gray car sitting there like it owned the place. I got out slowly, my heart pounding. The driver's seat was empty. The radio was still on. I looked around the house, no sign of forced entry, just her car. Then she appeared from the side gate holding a clipboard. "Oh, Mr. Thomas," she said like nothing was wrong. "We had a mix-up with the new community paving project. I needed temporary access to measure your property line. Hope you don't mind. In my garage?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Technically, all attached structures are under HOA jurisdiction." I laughed. The kind of laugh you do when you're seconds from snapping. "You parked your car inside my private garage and call it jurisdiction?" She shrugged. "You left it unlocked." I took out my phone and hit record. "Then you won't mind explaining this on camera." Her eyes widened. "You can't record me without permission." "You're on my property, Brenda." "Permission granted." That's when she stormed off, muttering about non-compliance and disciplinary action. I thought that would be the end of it. But the next morning, taped to my front door, was a violation notice. Fine. $500. Unauthorized storage of vehicle. The vehicle being... Her BMW. I stared at the letter and actually laughed. "You've got to be kidding me," I said out loud. Ella peeked out from the doorway holding her cereal bowl. "Dad, what's so funny?" "Just adult nonsense, sweetheart." That night, I decided I'd had enough. I started digging. I spent hours online reading HOA laws, property rights, and state regulations. Turns out, Brenda wasn't just bending the rules, she was inventing them. She'd been issuing fines for things outside her authority, collecting fees in cash, and never reporting them to the board's official ledger. So I started documenting everything. Dates, photos, recordings. I found 3 neighbors who'd been fined for infractions that didn't exist in the bylaws. One guy had paid nearly $800 over 2 years for trimming his hedges too symmetrically. I filed an official complaint with the HOA's parent management company. Then I went one step further. I called my friend in county code enforcement. Turns out, Brenda's authority stopped at the sidewalk. The HOA had no legal access to private garages, no right to enter property without notice, and no ability to issue fines without due process. My friend laughed when I told him about the BMW. "She's cooked, Jake," he said. "Record everything. She'll hang herself with her own clipboard." And she did. A week later, the HOA meeting was packed. Word had spread about Brenda's antics and neighbors were fed up. She opened with her usual fake smile, trying to maintain control. "Before we begin," she said, "Mr. Thomas, you have several outstanding violations," I interrupted, calm, respectful. "Actually, Brenda, I think it's time we discussed your violations." Gasps, whispers. I connected my laptop to the projector and hit play. The video showed Brenda walking into my garage, her car inside. Her voice crystal clear, talking about jurisdiction. Then came the screenshots, the fake fines, the duplicate charges, the missing funds. Her face went pale. "You forged signatures," I said evenly. "You fined residents for things not in the bylaws. You entered private property without notice. And according to county records," I clicked the next slide. "You diverted over $9,000 in collected fees to your personal account." The room went silent. Then someone clapped. Then another. Brenda tried to talk, but her voice trembled. "This is taken out of context." My friend from code enforcement stood up in the back. "No, ma'am. It's fraud." The next morning, Brenda's silver BMW was gone. So was the clipboard. 2 weeks later, the HOA voted her out unanimously. I got a formal apology from the board and a refund check for all my fines. Brenda, I later heard, was under investigation for embezzlement. When I stood in my garage that night, empty, peaceful, smelling like coffee and wood glue again, I just smiled. Ella came in holding 2 mugs of cocoa. "Is the mean lady gone?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, kiddo." Justice flipped the breaker on her. She laughed, and as I sipped the cocoa, I thought, peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the moment when the noise finally shuts itself off. But deep down, I had a feeling. This wasn't over. Brenda wasn't the kind of woman who lost quietly.